Hello friends. Did you know that nearly 80% of those who watch my videos aren't subscribed? If you enjoy the content, I'd truly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. Also, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Your interaction not only supports the channel's growth, but also helps these stories reach more people. Thank you all for being here. By the way, where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. I've been working for the Texas Department of Public Safety for 19 years. I've served everywhere from the Panhandle to the Gulf Coast, witnessed accidents where survival seemed impossible, pulled bodies from twisted metal, and talked people down from places they shouldn't have been. If you do this job long enough, you develop a kind of immunity to strange occurrences, to events that don't quite make sense, to incidents you can't explain in a report without sounding like you've lost your mind. But some nights they just won't leave your mind. This incident happened 4 years ago, in the summer of 2021, on the I-10 highway between Junction and Sonora. It's a desolate area, miles of farms, hills covered in cedar and mesquite trees, and darkness pressing in from all sides at night. The kind of darkness where your headlights are inadequate, where you feel like you're driving through something solid rather than air. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I'd switched shifts with Hernandez so he could make his kid's graduation. Started my patrol around 10 p.m., temperature still hovering near 90 even after sundown. The heat radiates up from the asphalt out there, makes everything shimmer even in the dark. I was about 40 miles west of Junction when I clocked the sedan. White Toyota Camry, maybe 10 years old, doing 73 in a 70 zone. Nothing worth pulling over for, but something made me pay attention. Maybe it was the way it was driving, perfectly centered in the lane, cruise control steady, no variation at all. Most people drift a little, speed up, slow down, adjust. This car moved like it was on rails. I followed it for about 2 miles just observing. No erratic behavior, no traffic violations, but that feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. The feeling you learn to trust after enough years in the job. At mile marker 412, the Camry's right turn signal came on. Blinked exactly 3 times, then the car pulled onto the shoulder and stopped. Smooth, controlled, like the driver had been expecting me, even though I hadn't activated my lights. I called it in. Dispatch, Unit 723, I've got a traffic stop, westbound I-10, mile marker 412, white Toyota Camry, running the plate now. The plate came back clean. Registered to a Michael Raines out of San Antonio. No warrants, no flags, insurance current. Everything normal. I approached the vehicle from the passenger side, the way we're trained. Desert wind was blowing hot across the highway, carrying the smell of creosote and dust. The Camry's engine was running, windows up, interior dome light off. I tapped on the passenger window with my flashlight. The window rolled down, smooth and quiet, and I got my first look at the driver. He was maybe 45, average build, clean-shaven, wearing a blue button-down shirt, brown hair cut short, hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. He turned to look at me, and his expression was neutral. Not nervous, not annoyed, not relieved, just neutral. "Evening, sir," I said. "License and registration, please." "Of course, officer." His voice was calm, measured. He reached for the glove box without any of the usual fumbling, pulled out the registration, then retrieved his wallet from his back pocket and handed me his license. Michael David Raines, address in San Antonio matching the registration. "Do you know why I pulled you over, Mr. Raines?" "No, sir, I don't." "You pulled over before I activated my lights." He smiled slightly. "I saw you following me. Figured you might want to check something. Thought I'd make it easy for you." That was reasonable. Cooperative, even. but something about the way he said it felt rehearsed. "Where are you headed tonight?" "El Paso, visiting family. Long drive." "I don't mind. I like the quiet." I studied him for a moment. Everything about this was normal. Perfectly, completely normal. And that's what bothered me. "I'll be right back with your documents." I returned to my unit and ran his information again. Clean record. Not even a speeding ticket. I called dispatch, gave them the details, asked if they had anything unusual in the area. Negative. Nothing reported, no bolos, no suspicious activity. I should have just given him a warning and sent him on his way. But I walked back to the Camry instead, leaned down to the passenger window and said, "Mr. Rains, would you mind stepping out of the vehicle?" "Is there a problem, officer?" "Just routine. Won't take long." He turned off the engine, opened his door, and stepped out. Moved smoothly, no hesitation, no nervousness. Just compliance. We stood in the glow of my headlights, heat still radiating from the asphalt, and I asked him the standard questions. Where was he coming from? San Antonio. When did he leave? About 3 hours ago. Was he traveling alone? Yes. Everything checked out. Mind if I take a look in your vehicle? Not at all. I've got nothing to hide. He opened the back door for me. The interior was clean. Almost too clean. No fast food bags, no coffee cups, no loose change or receipts. Just empty seats and carpet that looked freshly vacuumed. The trunk was the same. Spare tire, jack, a small overnight bag. I asked him to open the bag. Clothes, toiletries, phone charger. Nothing suspicious. "Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Rains. You're free to go." "Appreciate it, officer. Have a good night." He got back in the Camry, started the engine, pulled smoothly back onto the highway and disappeared into the darkness, heading west. I sat in my unit for a few minutes, writing up the stop in my notes. Time, location, reason for stop, what I observed. Everything by the book. Then I noticed something. The timestamp on my dash cam. According to the camera, the entire stop had lasted 4 minutes. But when I checked my watch, it was 11:47. I'd pulled the Camry over at 11:16. 31 minutes. I rewound the footage, watched it from the beginning. There I was, approaching the vehicle, talking to Rains, checking his documents, searching the car. Everything I remembered. But the camera showed it all happening in 4 minutes. The footage sped up somehow, movements too quick. My walk back to the unit taking seconds instead of the minute it should have taken. I radioed dispatch. "Unit 723, can you confirm the time of my last traffic stop?" "Stand by." A pause. "We show you calling in the stop at 23:16 hours. No further communication until now. Is there a problem?" "What time do you show right now?" 23:47 hours. "Copy that." I sat there trying to make sense of it. 31 minutes. I'd lost 31 minutes somewhere between pulling the Camry over and watching it drive away. The camera showed 4 minutes, but my watch, dispatch, the clock on my dash, they all said 31. I drove on, continuing my patrol, but I couldn't shake it. The missing time, the too perfect compliance, the empty cleanliness of that car. At mile marker 438, about 20 minutes later, I passed a white Toyota Camry on the shoulder. Engine off, hazard lights blinking. I pulled over, called it in, approached with my flashlight. The car was empty. Keys in the ignition, driver's door unlocked. Same plate number, same registration to Michael Rains. But when I looked inside, the interior was different. Fast food wrappers on the passenger seat, coffee cups in the holders, a road map folded on the dashboard. The overnight bag in the back seat was open, clothes spilling out. I called it in as an abandoned vehicle, requested a tow. While I waited, I walked the perimeter with my flashlight, looking for any sign of the driver. Nothing. Just darkness and desert and the sound of wind through the brush. The tow truck arrived 40 minutes later. Driver's name was Carson. Been working this stretch for 15 years. "Weird place to abandon a car," he said, hooking up the Camry. "You get a lot of these?" "More than you'd think. People break down, walk off looking for help. Sometimes they just never come back." "Ever see anybody walking out here this time of night?" "Not tonight. Road's been empty." After he drove off with the Camry, I sat in my unit and pulled up the earlier traffic stop footage again. Rewatched the whole thing. Michael Raines, calm and cooperative, standing in my headlights, telling me he was headed to El Paso. 4 minutes on camera, 31 minutes in reality. I filed my report when I got off shift at 6 a.m. Documented the traffic stop, the abandoned vehicle, the discrepancy in time. Didn't mention that they were the same car because according to the system, they couldn't be. The Camry I pulled over had driven west. The Camry I found abandoned was 26 miles further west, but the timeline didn't work. Even driving at maximum speed, Raines couldn't have made it that far, abandoned the car, and disappeared in the 20 minutes between my stop and finding the vehicle. 2 days later, I got called into Sergeant Briggs' office. "Need to ask you about that report from Tuesday night," he said, pulling up the file on his computer. "The traffic stop on I-10. What about it?" "You documented a 31-minute stop, but the dash cam shows 4 minutes. I know, I can't explain it. And you documented finding the same vehicle abandoned 26 miles west, but you released the driver heading west 20 minutes earlier. That's what happened." Briggs leaned back in his chair, studying me. "You feeling okay? Getting enough sleep?" "I'm fine. Because if you're having issues, we can talk about it. Get you some time off, talk to somebody." "I don't need time off, I'm telling you what I observed." "What you observed doesn't make sense, Mason. Same plate, same registration, 2 different locations. Timeline doesn't work." I didn't have a response to that. "Look," Briggs said, his tone softening. "I've known you a long time, you're solid. But this kind of thing, the confusion, the time discrepancy, it can be a sign of stress. You've been working a lot of nights, a lot of doubles. It's not stress. Then what is it?" "I don't know." He closed the file. "I'm not writing you up, but I am recommending you take a few days, get some rest. When you come back, we'll pretend this report doesn't exist." I took the days off, spent them trying to make sense of what happened, but every way I looked at it, the facts didn't line up. The missing time, the same car in 2 places, the driver who disappeared. When I came back to work, I requested the highway cam footage from that stretch of I-10. Took me a week to get approval, but when I finally reviewed it, I found something. At 11:16, the Camry appeared on camera heading west, pulled over at mile marker 412. My unit pulled in behind it. 4 minutes later, both vehicles were gone. The Camry continued west. So far, that matched the dash cam. But at 11:47, 31 minutes after I pulled the car over, the Camry appeared again on the same camera. Same car, same plate, heading west, passing mile marker 412 for a second time. I rewound it, watched it again. Twice. Same car, same timestamp, same location, 31 minutes apart. I pulled the footage from the next camera west, at mile marker 425. The first Camry appeared at 11:21, driving past. The second Camry appeared at 11:52, also driving past. Both of them real, both of them documented. both of them impossible. I checked the camera at mile marker 438, where I'd found the abandoned vehicle. No footage of the car pulling over. No footage of anyone exiting the vehicle. It was just there at 11:58, hazard lights blinking, like it had materialized out of nothing. I printed the images, filed them with my original report, and sent everything to Briggs with a note. Not asking for an explanation. Not asking him to believe me. Just documenting what the cameras showed. He never responded. 3 weeks later, I was working the same stretch of highway, same shift. Around midnight, I clocked a white Toyota Camry doing 73 in a 70 zone. I followed it for 2 miles, watching it drive with that same perfect centerline precision. At mile marker 412, the turn signal came on. 3 blinks. The car pulled smoothly onto the shoulder. I should have driven past, should have ignored it. But I pulled over behind it, called it in, ran the plate. Michael David Rains, San Antonio, clean record. I approached the passenger window, tapped with my flashlight. The window rolled down. Same driver, same neutral expression, same blue button-down shirt. "Evening, sir. License and registration, please." "Of course, officer." He handed me the documents without fumbling, without hesitation. "Do you know why I pulled you over, Mr. Rains?" "No, sir, I don't." "You pulled over before I activated my lights. I saw you following me. Figured you might want to check something." The exact same words. The exact same inflection. "Where are you headed tonight?" "El Paso, visiting family." I felt my pulse quicken. "Have we met before, Mr. Rains?" He smiled slightly. "I don't think so, officer. I'd remember. Wait here." I walked back to my unit, hands shaking slightly. Checked the date. August 14th, 2021. 3 weeks since the first stop. I pulled up the original report, compared the details. Same time, 11:16. Same location, mile marker 412. Same everything. I radioed dispatch. Unit 723, requesting backup at mile marker 412, westbound I-10. "What's the situation?" "Just need another unit here. No emergency." "Copy. Unit 519 is about 15 minutes out." I walked back to the Camry. Rains was sitting with his hands on the wheel, patient, calm. "Mr. Rains, I need you to step out of the vehicle." "Is there a problem, officer?" "Just routine." He complied. Same smooth movements, same lack of nervousness. We stood in the headlights and I asked him questions I already knew the answers to. Where was he coming from? "San Antonio." "When did he leave?" "About 3 hours ago." "Was he traveling alone?" "Yes." "Mr. Rains, have you ever been stopped on this highway before?" "No, sir. First time. You're sure about that?" "Positive. I don't drive this route often." Unit 519 arrived. Trooper named Callahan I'd worked with a few times. I pulled him aside, explained the situation. Showed him the report from 3 weeks earlier. "Same guy?" he asked. "Same guy, same time, same place, same conversation, word for word." Callahan looked at Rains, then back at me. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know." We searched the vehicle together. Same empty interior. Same overnight bag with the same contents. Everything identical to the first stop. Callahan ran the information again while I kept Rains by my unit. Everything came back clean. "I got nothing," Callahan said quietly. "No, Watts. No warrants. Vehicle's not reported stolen. What's the violation?" "There isn't one." "Then we can't hold him." I knew he was right. I walked back to Rains, handed him his documents. "You're free to go, Mr. Rains." "Thank you, officer. Have a good night." He got in the Camry, pulled back onto the highway, drove west. Callahan and I stood there watching his taillights disappear. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah." "You sure? Because that was weird." "I know." "You think he'll be back?" "Yeah," I said. "I think he will." Callahan left, and I sat in my unit, waiting. Checked my watch every few minutes, counting down. At 11:47, exactly 31 minutes after the stop, I drove to mile marker 438. The white Camry was there. Hazard lights blinking. Empty. I searched it with my flashlight. This time, the interior was different again. Child's car seat in the back. Shopping bags on the floor. A woman's jacket on the passenger seat. Different contents. Same impossible situation. I called it in as abandoned, requested a tow, filed another report. The next morning, Briggs called me into his office again. "We need to talk about these reports," he said. "I'm documenting what I observe. You're documenting the same traffic stop 3 weeks apart. Same driver, same time, same location. Because it's happening. It can't be happening, Mason. People don't appear in the same place at the same time doing the same thing weeks apart. That's not how reality works. I know how it sounds. Do you? Because it sounds like you're having some kind of episode. And I can't ignore that. Pull the highway cam footage. It'll show the same thing I'm reporting. I did pull it. There's no footage from mile marker 412 on August 14th. Camera was down for maintenance. That's convenient. It's documented. Scheduled maintenance, logged weeks in advance." I didn't have a response. "I'm putting you on administrative leave," Briggs said. "Effective immediately. You're going to see the department psychologist, get cleared for duty, and then we'll talk about you coming back. You're benching me for doing my job. I'm protecting you from yourself. Whatever's going on, Mason, it's not sustainable. Take the time, get help, come back when you're ready." I spent 6 weeks on leave. Saw the psychologist twice a week. Told her about the stress, the long hours, the isolation of night patrol. Didn't mention the Camry or Michael Raines or the missing 31 minutes. She cleared me for duty, said I seemed well rested, recommended I vary my shifts more, avoid too many consecutive nights. When I came back, I requested day shifts, worked them for 2 months, tried to forget about it. But on October 28th, I traded shifts with Mendoza. He needed a day off. I needed the overtime. Started patrol at 10 p.m., same stretch of I-10, same route. At 11:14, I was approaching mile marker 412 when I saw the Camry. It was already on the shoulder, hazard lights off, engine running. I pulled over behind it, every instinct telling me to drive past, to ignore it, to let it be someone else's problem. But I called it in, ran the plate. Michael David Raines. I approached the passenger window, tapped with my flashlight. The window was already down. Raines turned to look at me, and this time his expression was different. Not neutral, not calm. He was smiling. "Evening, officer," he said. "I was wondering when you'd come back." My hand went to my weapon. "Step out of the vehicle, now." "Is there a problem?" "Step out of the vehicle." He turned off the engine, opened the door, stepped out. We stood in my headlights and he was still smiling. "You remember me?" I said. It wasn't a question. "Of course I remember you. You've stopped me 3 times now." "What are you?" His smile widened. "I'm just a man driving to El Paso, officer. Visiting family." "Bullshit. What's happening here? What are you doing?" "I'm not doing anything. You're the one who keeps pulling me over." "You pull over before I activate my lights. Same time, same place, every time. Maybe I'm just very predictable. Where do you go during the missing time? What happens in those 31 minutes? His smile faded slightly. You noticed that? Of course I noticed. Most people don't. They just feel a little confused, a little disoriented, check their watch and think they lost track of time. But you documented it, you measured it, you tried to make sense of it. What's happening during that time? You really want to know? Yes? He stepped closer, and I drew my weapon, pointed it at his chest. Stay back. He raised his hands, but he wasn't afraid. You're still there, officer. During those 31 minutes, you're standing beside my car, talking to me, searching the vehicle. But you're also somewhere else, somewhere you can't remember, doing something you can't document. That doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't. But that's what's happening. Every time you pull me over, you split. Part of you stays with me for 4 minutes. Routine traffic stop, everything normal. Part of you goes somewhere else for 31 minutes. And when you come back together, you only remember the 4 minutes. That's impossible. Is it? You've seen the footage. You've checked the timestamps. You know something's wrong. What happens in the other 27 minutes? He lowered his hand slightly. You'd have to ask the other version of yourself. The one who finds my car abandoned 26 miles west. The one who searches it and calls for a tow. That version of you knows more than this version does. There's no other version. There's just me. Are you sure about that? I kept my weapon trained on him, trying to think through this. What do you want? Want? I don't want anything. I'm just driving to El Paso. Every 3 weeks. Same time, same place. Funny how that works, isn't it? Why? He shrugged. Some roads have patterns. Some places get stuck in loops. This is one of them. Has been for a long time. You just happen to notice. How do I stop it? Stop what? This. Whatever this is. You don't. It's not yours to stop. It's just a thing that happens, like rain or wind or the sun coming up. You can observe it, document it, try to make sense of it, but you can't change it. I don't believe that. No, you wouldn't. That's why you keep coming back. That's why you keep pulling me over even though you know it won't change anything. Behind me, I heard tires on asphalt. Another vehicle approaching. I glanced in my mirror, saw headlights. When I looked back, Rains was getting into his car. Stay where you are, I said. But he was already closing the door, starting the engine. See you next time, officer. He pulled onto the highway, accelerated smoothly, disappeared into the darkness, heading west. The approaching vehicle pulled up behind my unit. Unit 6401, trooper named Walker. Everything okay? She asked, getting out. Yeah, just finished a traffic stop. Need anything? No, thanks for checking. She drove off, and I sat in my unit, hands shaking. Checked my watch. 11:18. 4 minutes since I pulled over. I waited. 27 more minutes. At 11:45, I drove to mile marker 438. The Camry was there. Hazard lights blinking. Empty. This time when I searched it, the interior was spotless. No trash, no personal items, nothing. Like it had just rolled off the factory floor. I called it in, requested a tow, started my report. And then I stopped, because I realized what he meant about the other version of myself. The one who finds the car, who documents it, who calls for the tow. That version of me didn't remember the conversation at mile marker 4 and 12. That version had experienced 4 minutes of routine traffic stop and nothing else. But this version, the one writing the report, I remembered both. The 4 minutes and the 31 minutes. The conversation and the missing time. Which meant I was the split. I was the one who existed in 2 places, 2 timelines, 2 versions of the same event. I sat in my unit until sunrise, trying to wrap my head around it, trying to figure out which version was real, which version was me. I filed the report, documented everything. The conversation, the timeline, the abandoned vehicle. Briggs didn't call me in this time, didn't put me on leave. The report just disappeared into the system, filed away with all the other unexplained observations and impossible events that happen on empty highways in the middle of the night. 3 weeks later, October 28th became November 18th. I was working days, avoiding night shifts, trying to stay away from that stretch of highway. But Daniels called in sick, and they needed someone to cover. I took the shift, started at 10 p.m. At 11:14, approaching mile marker 412, I saw the Camry on the shoulder. I drove past it, kept going, didn't slow down, didn't look back. At 11:47, I was 30 miles further west when dispatch called. Unit 723, we've got a report of an abandoned vehicle. Mile marker 438, can you respond? I sat there for a long moment, key in hand, engine idling. Unit 723, do you copy? Copy, en route. I drove back east, found the Camry at mile marker 438, hazard lights blinking, empty. Different version of me. Same impossible car. I called for a tow, filed the report, drove home at the end of my shift. And I decided to stop trying to make sense of it. Because Raines was right. Some things just happen. Some roads get stuck in loops, and all you can do is observe, document, and keep moving. I still work that stretch of highway sometimes. I still see the Camry every 3 weeks at mile marker 412 like clockwork. Sometimes I pull over. Sometimes I drive past. The missing 31 minutes happen either way. I don't talk about it anymore. Stopped filing reports. Stopped trying to explain it to people who'll just think I'm losing my grip. But I know what I see. And I know that somewhere out there, another version of me is having a 4-minute conversation with Michael Raines, checking his documents, searching his car, sending him on his way to El Paso, while this version drives to mile marker 438 and finds the car abandoned. Both real, both documented, both impossible. That's the thing about roads in West Texas. Some of them don't follow the rules, and once you notice, you can't unnotice. You just learn to live with it. I'm still Trooper Mason Hayes, still working the highway, still doing my job. But every 3 weeks at 11:16 p.m., I check my watch and count down the 31 minutes. And wonder which version of me is real. Or if maybe both versions are, existing in parallel, touching the same moment from different angles, trying to document something that can't be explained in any report that would make sense. The Camry is still out there. Michael Raines is still driving to El Paso, and somewhere between mile marker 412 and mile marker 438, reality splits into 2 timelines that don't quite line up. I just drive through it now, noting the discrepancy, filing it away in the part of my memory reserved for things that happen but don't make sense, because that's the job. You observe, you document, and you keep moving. Even when the road loops back on itself, even when time splits, even when you know that the next time you approach mile marker 412 at 11:14 p.m., the white Camry will be waiting. And you'll have to decide which version of yourself you want to be. The one who stops, or the one who drives past and finds it abandoned 26 miles later. Either way, the missing 31 minutes will happen. And somewhere in that gap between what the camera shows and what the clock measures, there's a truth I'm not sure I want to understand. So I don't try anymore. I just drive and wait for the next loop. They train you to trust your eyes. Visual confirmation, they call it during academy. See it, process it, act on it. Your eyes don't lie. Your gut might be wrong. Witnesses might misremember. But what you see with your own eyes, That's solid ground. 17 years on the job taught me different. This was February 2022. Cold for Texas. Temperatures dropping into the 30s at night. I was working the graveyard shift on US 83 between Abilene and Brownwood, a stretch of highway that cuts through ranch country and not much else. No towns, no truck stops, just fence lines and cattle guards and darkness that goes on forever. The call came in at 2:17 a.m. Unit 482, we've got a report of a pedestrian on the roadway, northbound 83, approximately mile marker 78. Caller states individual is walking in the right lane, dark clothing, appears disoriented. Copy, en route. Mile marker 78 was about 12 miles north of my position. I activated my lights, picked up speed. Pedestrian on a highway at night is bad news. People break down, start walking, get disoriented, step into traffic. Seen it end badly more times than I want to count. The highway was empty, nothing but my headlights cutting through the dark and the white dashed line disappearing under my bumper. Temperature gauge showed 34 degrees. Cold enough that anyone walking out here would be in trouble pretty quick. At mile marker 76, I started scanning the road ahead. No sign of anyone. Just asphalt and scrub brush and the occasional reflector catching my lights. Mile marker 77, still nothing. I slowed down as I approached 78, watching both sides of the road, checking the shoulders, looking for any movement. Nothing. I drove another half mile, turned around, made another pass. Same result. No pedestrian, no parked vehicles, no sign anyone had been there at all. I radioed dispatch. Unit 482, I'm at mile marker 78, no visual on the pedestrian. Can you confirm the caller's information? Stand by. A pause while they checked. Caller reported from a cell phone, didn't leave a name. Said they passed a man walking northbound in the right lane approximately 5 minutes before calling it in. Did they stop to check on him? Negative. Caller stated they were scared, kept driving, called it in from a few miles up. That tracked. People see something weird on an empty highway at night. They don't always stop. They just want someone with a badge to handle it. I'm going to expand the search pattern. Maybe he made it to the shoulder, found some cover. Copy that. I drove north another 3 miles, south another 3, checking every pull-off, every gap in the fence line, anywhere someone might have gone. Used my spotlight to sweep the areas beyond the shoulder. Nothing. After 40 minutes of searching, I called it off. Whoever the caller had seen, they were gone now. Maybe they got picked up. Maybe they were never there to begin with. Happens more than you'd think. People see shadows, animals, their own headlights creating illusions on empty roads. I filed a report, documented the search, cleared the call. Should have been the end of it. 2 nights later, same shift, I got another call. Same location, same description. Pedestrian walking northbound on US 83, mile marker 78, dark clothing. Different caller this time. Woman driving home from a late shift in Brownwood said she passed a man walking in the right lane, looked like he was in trouble. I responded, same as before. 12 miles north, lights on, scanning the road. Mile marker 76, nothing. Mile marker 77, nothing. Mile marker 78, nothing. Same result. No pedestrian, no evidence anyone had been there. Expanded search, 40 minutes came up empty. Unit 482, any luck? Negative, no sign of the individual. Copy, we'll log it. I sat in my unit at mile marker 78, engine idling, and looked at the empty highway stretching north into darkness. 2 calls, 2 nights, same location, same description. That wasn't coincidence. I pulled up the highway cam footage on my mobile terminal. TX has cameras spaced along major routes, mostly for monitoring traffic and weather. US 83 had one at mile marker 75 and another at mile marker 85. 10-mile gap, but maybe I'd catch something. The camera at 75 showed my unit passing northbound at 2:29 a.m., lights activated. Nothing else. No other vehicles, no pedestrians. The camera at 85 was the same. Empty highway, my unit appearing at 2:41 a.m., then turning around and heading back south. I scrolled back through the footage from earlier that night. At 2:04 a.m., a sedan passed northbound through the frame at mile marker 75. That would be the caller. Timing matched up. The car passed through, taillights disappearing north, and then nothing. No pedestrian following behind, no figure walking in the lane. But the caller had said they passed the man 5 minutes before calling it in. At 2:04, if there was a pedestrian at mile marker 78, they should have been visible on the 75 camera around 2:15 or 2:20, depending on how fast they were walking. I checked. Nothing. I went back further, checking every vehicle that passed through that night. At 1:47 a.m., a pickup truck went northbound. At 1:33, a semi. At 1:12, another sedan. All of them passed through the frame with nothing unusual following. I switched to the 85 camera, ran through the same timestamps. Every vehicle that passed the 75 camera eventually passed the 85 camera, timing consistent with highway speed. No gaps, no delays, nothing missing. Except the pedestrian that 2 people had reported seeing. I logged off, drove home at the end of my shift, tried not to think about it. Third night, same call. 2:31 a.m., pedestrian at mile marker 78. This time I was closer, only about 6 miles south. I hit the lights and accelerated, covering the distance in under 5 minutes. Approached mile marker 78 expecting the same empty road. And saw him. He was walking in the right lane, maybe 100 yards ahead, moving north at a steady pace. Dark jacket, jeans, walking like he had somewhere to be. Not stumbling, not weaving, just walking. I slowed down, came up behind him with my lights on, activated the speaker. "Sir, this is the Texas Highway Patrol. Please move to the shoulder." He didn't stop, didn't turn around, just kept walking. I pulled alongside him, keeping pace, got a better look. Male, maybe 40, average build, short, dark hair. His expression was neutral, focused straight ahead like he was concentrating on something I couldn't see. "Sir, you need to stop walking and move to the shoulder." Nothing. He just kept going. Same steady pace, same blank expression. I pulled ahead of him, angled my unit across the lane, blocking his path. Got out, approached with my flashlight. He stopped about 10 feet from my bumper, standing in the middle of the lane, hands at his sides. "Sir, it's dangerous to walk on the highway. Are you having vehicle trouble? Do you need assistance?" He didn't respond, just stood there looking at me with that same neutral expression. "What's your name?" Nothing. "Are you injured? Do you need medical attention?" He blinked once, slowly, but didn't speak. I keyed my radio. "Unit 482, I've got contact with the pedestrian at mile marker 78. Subject is non-responsive, appears to be in some kind of altered state. Requesting medical assistance. Copy. Ambulance is en route. ETA 12 minutes. I holstered my radio, kept my flashlight on him. "Sir, I need you to come over here and sit down. Help is coming." He took a step forward, then another. Not toward the shoulder, not toward me. He just walked around my unit, continuing north, same steady pace as before. "Sir, stop. You need to wait here." He kept walking. I followed, shining my light on him, calling out. But he didn't acknowledge me at all, just walked, one foot in front of the other like I wasn't even there. Unit 482, subject is mobile, continuing northbound on foot. I'm following. Copy. Ambulance is still en route. I walked behind him for maybe a quarter mile, keeping pace, trying to get him to stop. But he just kept going, unresponsive, focused on something ahead. At mile marker 79, he stopped. Just froze mid-step, 1 foot forward, arms at his sides. "Sir?" He turned his head slightly, not looking at me, looking past me, toward the south. And then he stepped off the highway, crossed the shoulder, and walked into the brush. I followed with my flashlight, calling out, but the scrub was thick, and he was moving faster than before. Within seconds, I lost sight of him. I radioed it in, established a perimeter, waited for backup. When the ambulance arrived, we searched the area with spotlights and flashlights covering a half-mile radius from where he'd left the road. No sign of him. No tracks, no disturbed brush, nothing. It was like he'd stepped off the highway and vanished. We called in a helicopter at dawn, searched from the air. Thermal imaging showed cattle, a few coyotes, nothing human-sized. The man was gone. I filed a report, documented everything. The non-responsive behavior, the way he walked past my unit, the disappearance into the brush. Included witness statements from the 3 callers who'd reported seeing him. Sergeant Holt called me in 2 days later. "Read your report about the pedestrian," he said. "Yes, sir." "You actually saw him this time?" "Yes, sir. Direct visual contact, approximately 3 to 4 minutes of observation. But you didn't get an ID, didn't get him to stop, didn't get him into protective custody. He was non-compliant, walked right past me like I wasn't there, and then vanished into the brush." "Correct." Holt leaned back in his chair, studying me. "You checked the cameras?" "Not yet. Was going to pull the footage today." "Do it. Because I've got 3 civilian reports of a pedestrian at mile marker 78 and 1 trooper report of direct contact, but I don't have any physical evidence this person exists." "He exists. I saw him." "Then the cameras will show him too." I pulled the footage that afternoon. Started with the mile marker 75 camera, scrolling to 2:31 a.m. when I got the call. My unit appeared at 2:33, lights activated, heading north. No other vehicles, no pedestrian. I jumped to 2:36 when I should have reached mile marker 78. According to my dash cam, that's when I first saw him, walking ahead of me in the lane. But the 75 camera, looking north up the highway, showed nothing. Just empty road and my headlights in the distance. I switched to my dash cam footage. There I was, slowing down, pulling alongside the pedestrian, activating the speaker. The audio was clear, my voice telling him to move to the shoulder. The video showed him walking, dark jacket, steady pace, ignoring me completely. But when I synced the timestamp with the highway cam showed an empty lane. My unit was there, lights on, spotlight activated, pulling alongside nothing. I watched both feeds side by side. On my dash cam, I pulled ahead, blocked the lane, got out, approached the pedestrian. On the highway cam, I pulled ahead, blocked an empty lane, got out, walked toward nothing. On my dash cam, he walked around my unit, continued north. On the highway cam, I stood in the middle of the highway, flashlight pointing at empty air, walking backward like I was following someone who wasn't there. I felt sick. I jumped forward to mile marker 79 where he'd stepped off the road. My dash cam showed him stopping, turning, walking into the brush. The highway cam showed me standing on the shoulder, shining my flashlight into the scrub, talking to myself. I went back, reviewed all 3 nights. Every call, every response, every search. The highway cameras showed the same thing. Empty road. No pedestrian. Just me, driving around, searching. talking to dispatch about someone who didn't exist on any camera except my own dash cam. I called Holt, asked him to review the footage. He came down to the tech room, watched over my shoulder. "Play your dash cam again," he said. I did. Clear video of the pedestrian, walking, non-responsive, disappearing into the brush. Now the highway cam. Empty road, me walking around with my flashlight pointed at nothing. Holt was quiet for a long moment. "You see him on your dash cam," he finally said. "Yes, sir." "But he's not on the highway cam." "No, sir." And the 3 civilian callers, they all reported the same thing. Same location, same description, same behavior. "Yes, sir." "You think they saw the same thing you saw?" "I don't know what else it could be." Holt rubbed his face, tired. "I need you to take a few days off. I'm not imagining this. I didn't say you were, but something's not right, and until we figure out what it is, I can't have you responding to calls in that area." "The callers saw him too. The callers reported seeing something. Whether it's the same thing you saw, I can't confirm. What I can confirm is that the highway cameras don't show anything, and that's a problem." I took the days off, spent them trying to make sense of it. The pedestrian I saw was real, solid, physical. I watched him walk, watched him breathe, watched him step off the road into the brush. But the cameras said different. On the 4th day of my leave, I got a call from a civilian, woman named Teresa, who'd been one of the original callers. "I saw your report got flagged," she said. "Wanted to talk to you about what I saw that night." "How did you get my number?" "I have a friend in dispatch. Look, I know this sounds crazy, but I need to tell someone who'll understand." "Go ahead." "I saw him, the man walking on the highway, but it wasn't just that. When I drove past him, I looked in my rearview mirror, and he was gone. Just vanished, empty road behind me." "Could he have stepped off the shoulder?" "No, I was watching. One second he was there, next second he wasn't. That's why I called it in, because I thought maybe I was seeing things, but I needed someone to check." "Did you see him clearly?" "Yeah. Dark jacket, jeans, walking north. Didn't look at me when I passed, just kept walking with this blank expression, like he was sleepwalking." The description matched exactly. "And you're sure he vanished?" "Positive. I watched my mirror for a good 10 seconds. He was there, then he wasn't." After she hung up, I called the other 2 civilians who'd reported seeing him. Both told similar stories. Saw him walking, looked away for a second, looked back, he was gone. 3 witnesses, all reporting the same vanishing act. Plus me, with dashcam footage that showed him clearly and highway cameras that showed nothing. I went back to work the following week. Holt assigned me to a different patrol route, kept me away from US 83. I worked it without complaint, did my job, filed my reports. But 3 weeks later, I heard chatter on the radio. Another pedestrian report, same location, mile marker 78. I wasn't assigned to respond. Unit 671 took the call, trooper named Martinez. I listened on the radio as he drove out there, same pattern as my responses. Arrived at the location, no visual contact, expanded search, came up empty. 20 minutes later, he radioed again. "I've got eyes on the subject, male, approximately 40 years old, dark jacket, walking northbound, non-responsive. Copy, medical en route." I listened as Martinez tried to stop him, tried to get him to respond. Same result. The pedestrian walked past him, continued north, stepped off the highway at mile marker 79. Subject has left the roadway, heading into the brush. I'm in pursuit. Then silence for 5 minutes. "Unit 671, what's your status?" More silence. Unit 671, respond. Finally, Martinez came back on. I lost him. He just disappeared. 1 second, he was right in front of me. Next second, he was gone. I pulled the footage later that day. Same result. Martinez's dash cam showed the pedestrian clearly. Highway cameras showed Martinez driving around, searching, walking after nothing. Holt called us both in. 2 troopers, multiple civilians, all reporting the same thing, he said. But the highway cameras show nothing. What am I supposed to do with that? Neither of us had an answer. Is there any chance, Holt said carefully, that we're dealing with some kind of equipment malfunction? Dash cams showing something that's not there? 3 different dash cams? Martinez asked, plus civilian eyewitnesses. I'm trying to find a rational explanation. Maybe there isn't one, I said. Holt looked at me. What are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying maybe some things don't have rational explanations. That's not how this works. Everything has an explanation, we just have to find it. But we didn't find it. The reports kept coming. Every 3 weeks, like clockwork, someone would call in a pedestrian at mile marker 78. Sometimes we'd respond and see nothing. Sometimes we'd see him, follow him, watch him vanish. The highway cameras never showed anything. After the 8th report, Holt stopped assigning units to respond. Logged the calls, documented the pattern, but didn't send anyone out. What was the point? We couldn't catch him, couldn't identify him, couldn't make him stop. He was just there. Walking northbound every 3 weeks, dark jacket, blank expression, vanishing at mile marker 79. I started doing my own research. Checked accident reports for that stretch of highway going back 20 years. Found one that stood out. March 2004, single vehicle accident at mile marker 78.5. Driver lost control. Vehicle left the roadway, struck a tree. Driver pronounced dead at the scene. Male, 42 years old, identified as David Carter from Abilene. Time of accident, 2:17 a.m. I pulled the accident photos. Carter had been wearing a dark jacket and jeans. The resemblance to the pedestrian we'd been seeing was unmistakable. I showed the file to Martinez. "You think that's him?" he asked. "I think it's worth considering." "But Carter died 18 years ago." "I know. So what are we looking at, a ghost?" "I don't know what we're looking at." Martinez flipped through the photos, studying Carter's face. If it is him, why's he walking? Why every 3 weeks? Why does he vanish? Maybe he's trying to get somewhere. Maybe he's stuck in some kind of loop. Or maybe we're just seeing what we expect to see. Power of suggestion. One person reports a pedestrian, we go out there primed to see someone, our brains fill in the details. Then, explain the dashcam footage. Equipment malfunction. All the cameras were installed around the same time, maybe they all have the same defect. And the civilians? Same thing. Expectation bias. They see something on an empty highway at night. Their brain fills in details that aren't there. It was possible. Not likely, but possible. What if it's not bias? I asked. What if we're all seeing the same thing because it's actually there, but it only exists in a way that cameras can't capture? That doesn't make any sense. None of this makes sense. 2 months later, I was working day shift when I got a call from a detective in Abilene. They were reviewing cold cases, came across David Carter's accident file, saw my name flagged in recent reports from the same area. "I'm calling about the pedestrian sightings on 83, the detective said. "I understand you've had multiple encounters." "That's correct." "And you think there might be a connection to David Carter?" "It's a theory." I pulled Carter's case file. "There's something you should know. The accident happened at 2:17 a.m., but the responding officer noted something odd. Carter's vehicle left the road at mile marker 78.5, but his body was found a quarter mile north at mile marker 79, like he got out of the vehicle after the crash and walked north before collapsing. The exact pattern the pedestrian followed, starting at 78, walking to 79, disappearing into the brush. "There's more," the detective said. Carter was reported missing 3 weeks before the accident. Wife said he'd gone out for a drive one night, didn't come home. When they found his vehicle, it had been there for weeks. Judging by decomposition and insect activity, he'd died the same night he disappeared. So he crashed, got out, walked north, and died in the brush. That's what the evidence suggests, but here's what bothers me. The vehicle was found with the keys in the ignition, lights on, engine dead. Battery had run down over 3 weeks, but Carter's last cell phone ping was the night he disappeared, and it came from the same location, mile marker 78. He was there when he disappeared, and his body was found 3 weeks later in the same spot where he died the night he vanished. Like time folded somehow, like he was both dead for 3 weeks and dying that night. I sat with that for a minute, trying to process it. "You think that's what we're seeing?" I asked. "Some kind of time loop?" "I don't know what you're seeing, but whatever it is, it's been happening for 18 years. Every 3 weeks, like clockwork, and it always follows the same pattern. Mile marker 78 to mile marker 79, walking north, then vanishing." "Does Carter have any family left?" "Wife died in 2019. No kids, no other relatives I can locate. So nobody's looking for answers. Just us." The detective sent me the full case file. I read through it, studied the photos, reviewed the timeline. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. David Carter died at mile marker 79 on March 14, 2004, walking away from his crashed vehicle. And every 3 weeks since then, someone sees him doing it again. Not a ghost. Not exactly. More like an echo. A moment caught in a loop, repeating at regular intervals, visible to anyone who happens to be looking at the right time. But only on dash cams and human eyes, never on the highway cameras. I don't know why. Maybe those cameras capture a different spectrum. Maybe they only record what's physically there. Maybe whatever Carter left behind exists in a frequency they can't detect. Or maybe Martinez was right, and we're all experiencing some kind of mass hallucination, seeing what we expect to see based on suggestion and pattern recognition. I don't have an answer. What I have is this. Every 3 weeks, someone calls in a pedestrian at mile marker 78. Sometimes we respond, sometimes we don't. When we do, sometimes we see him, sometimes we don't. But whether we see him or not, he's there. Walking north, dark jacket, blank expression, following the same path he followed 18 years ago in his last moments of life. I don't respond to those calls anymore. Holt keeps me on different routes, different shifts, but I hear about them, every 3 weeks like clockwork. And sometimes, driving home after a late shift, I take US 83 northbound. Not because I have to, just because. I slow down at mile marker 78, watch the road ahead, check my dash cam to make sure it's recording. Most times, there's nothing. But every now and then I see him, walking in the right lane, steady pace, focused on something I can't see, and I follow at a distance, keeping my spotlight off, just watching. He never acknowledges me, never stops, never turns around. He just walks to mile marker 79, stops for a moment, turns his head like he's looking back at something, then steps off the highway into the brush, and vanishes every 3 weeks, for 18 years. I don't know what he's looking for out there. Don't know if he's aware he's dead, or stuck, or repeating. I just know that on that stretch of highway between mile marker 78 and 79, time doesn't move the way it should. And David Carter is still walking north, still trying to get somewhere he'll never reach. The highway cameras will never show him, but he's there. I've seen him, and I know I'll see him again. The thing about abandoned vehicles is they're never really abandoned. Someone left them there. Someone made a choice or had a choice made for them, and the vehicle is what's left behind. Evidence of something that happened, even if you don't know what. I've been working Texas highways for 15 years. Seen hundreds of abandoned vehicles. Most have a story that makes sense. Ran out of gas, broke down, driver walked to get help and never came back. Sometimes they come back with a tow truck, sometimes they don't. The state eventually hauls them away, and that's that. But some vehicles stick with you. This happened in October 2020, early morning hours on State Highway 16 between Fredericksburg and Kerrville. Hill country, lot of curves, lot of blind spots. Not a highway you want to break down on at 3 in the morning. I was running radar near mile marker 23 when dispatch called. Unit 357, we've got a report of a vehicle on the shoulder, northbound 16 at mile marker 31. Caller states the vehicle appears abandoned, lights on, engine running. Copy, en route. Mile marker 31 was about 8 miles north. I headed up. No lights, no rush. Abandoned vehicle with the engine running usually means someone stepped away for a minute. Bathroom break, checking a flat tire, making a phone call. They'd probably be back before I got there. The highway was empty. Middle of the week, middle of the night. Nothing moving but me and the wind pushing through the hills. Temperature was mild, mid-60s, clear sky. At mile marker 31, I found the vehicle. A silver Honda Accord, maybe 5 years old, pulled onto the shoulder with the hazard lights blinking. Headlights on. Engine running. I could hear it idling as I pulled up behind it. No driver in sight. I activated my rear lights, called it in. Unit 357, I'm on scene at mile marker 31. Silver Honda Accord, Texas plates. I read off the plate number. Engine running, no occupant visible. I'm going to approach the vehicle. Copy. I got out, flashlight in hand, approached from the passenger side. The windows were up, interior dome light off. I could see into the front seats. Empty. Back seats. Empty. No personal items visible, no phone, no wallet, nothing on the seats. I tried the passenger door, locked. Walked around to the driver's side. Door was unlocked. I opened it, leaned in. The car was in park. Engine running smooth. Gas tank showing 3/4 full. No check engine lights, no warning indicators. Everything functioning normally. Keys in the ignition. Phone in the center console. Wallet in the cup holder. I picked up the phone, locked, but the screen showed the time, 3:17 a.m. Recent notification from an hour ago, text message preview visible. Call me when you get this. The wallet had a driver's license. Male, 36 years old. Name, William Brandt. Address in San Antonio. Credit cards, some cash, everything you'd expect. But no driver. I stepped back, surveyed the area with my flashlight. The shoulder was wide here. Gravel and dirt. Plenty of room to pull over safely. No skid marks, no sign of a collision or mechanical failure. The car had been parked deliberately, carefully. I checked the immediate area, walked 50 feet in each direction. Looked into the brush on both sides of the highway. Called out, "Mr. Brandt, this is the Texas Highway Patrol. If you can hear me, please respond." Nothing but wind and the sound of the idling engine. I radioed it in. Unit 357, vehicle is confirmed abandoned. Engine running, keys in ignition, personal items inside including phone and wallet. No sign of the driver. License shows William Brandt, San Antonio. Requesting additional units for area search. Copy. Nearest unit is 418. ETA 20 minutes. I waited by the vehicle, periodically calling out, checking the area. The Honda just sat there, engine purring, hazard lights blinking, like the driver had stepped away for 30 seconds and would be right back. Unit 418 arrived, trooper named Collins I'd worked with before. We split up, expanded the search perimeter, checked both sides of the highway for a quarter mile in each direction. No sign of William Brandt. At 4:15 a.m., we called in a missing person report, requested K9 units for tracking. The dog arrived at dawn, picked up a scent from the driver's seat, tracked it about 30 feet into the brush on the east side of the highway, then lost it. Just stopped, sat down, wouldn't go further. The handler tried multiple times, same result. The scent trail ended 30 feet from the road in the middle of nowhere, with no indication where Brandt had gone from there. We expanded the search, brought in more units, covered a square mile on foot. Found nothing. No footprints, no disturbed brush, no clothing, no signs of an animal attack or struggle. William Brandt had parked his car on the shoulder of Highway 16, left the engine running, walked 30 feet into the brush, and vanished. I called the phone number from the text message. Woman answered, groggy. Didn't sound happy about the early call. This is Trooper Hayes with the Texas Highway Patrol. I'm calling about William Brandt. Are you acquainted with him? Her tone changed immediately. Yes? That's my brother. Is he okay? We found his vehicle abandoned on Highway 16. Can you tell me when you last spoke to him? Last night around 10. He was driving back from Austin, said he'd be home by midnight. When he didn't call, I texted him, but he didn't respond. What do you mean abandoned? His car is here, engine running, but there's no sign of him. Silence on the other end. Then, that doesn't make sense. Will wouldn't just leave his car. Was he having any problems? Any reason he might have pulled over? No, he was fine. We talked about work, about plans for the weekend. He was in a good mood. Was he alone? Yes. Did he mention stopping anywhere between Austin and San Antonio? No, he was just driving straight through. It's a 2-hour drive. He does it all the time. I took her information, told her we were actively searching, would keep her updated. She asked if she should drive out there. I told her there wasn't much she could do, better to stay by the phone in case her brother contacted her. After we hung up, I went back to the Honda. Still running, still blinking, still waiting for a driver who wasn't coming back. I checked the phone again, scrolling through recent calls and texts. Nothing unusual. Work stuff, family stuff, plans to meet friends later in the week. The last text he'd sent was at 9:43 p.m., responding to his sister. On the road, talk soon. Between 9:43 p.m. and 3:17 a.m., nothing. No calls, no texts, no activity. But according to his sister, he should have been home by midnight. That left 3 hours unaccounted for. I checked the GPS on his phone. Last recorded location was Austin, 8:54 p.m. After that, nothing. Like the phone had been off, or in an area with no signal. But we had signal here, full bars. I pulled the car's computer, checked the onboard diagnostics. Last recorded data showed normal operation, engine temperature normal, no error codes, but the timestamp on the data was 11:17 p.m., 4 hours ago. 4 hours of running engine, burning gas, and no data recorded. I radioed dispatch, asked them to pull traffic cam footage from Highway 16 between Austin and Kerrville. They came back an hour later. Unit 357, we've got footage from 3 cameras along that route. Silver Honda Accord appears on the first camera near Austin at 9:02 p.m., heading west. Shows up on the second camera near Johnson City at 9:47 p.m., still westbound. Never appears on the third camera near Kerrville. What time frame did you check on the third camera? From 9:47 until 4 a.m. Vehicle doesn't show. It has to be there. The car is sitting right here at mile marker 31. It had to pass that camera to get here. We checked. It's not on the footage. I thanked them, signed off, tried to process that. The Honda appeared on 2 cameras heading west, then disappeared from the system entirely. Didn't show up on any subsequent cameras, but somehow ended up 50 miles further west with the engine running and no driver. The search continued through the day. We brought in helicopters, thermal imaging, volunteers from the local sheriff's department. Covered 5 square miles of terrain. Nothing. At noon, I was standing by the Honda, now towed to a secure lot, when my phone rang. Dispatch. Unit 357, we need you to verify something. You documented finding this vehicle at 3:17 a.m. at mile marker 31, correct? Correct. And you called it in at that time? Yes, as soon as I arrived on scene. We have a problem. We don't have a record of that call. What do you mean? Your first communication about this vehicle shows in our system at 4:15 a.m. when you requested K9 units. Before that, nothing. No initial call about finding the vehicle, no request for backup, no traffic stop documentation. That's impossible. I called it in at 3:17. Check the dash cam timestamp. We did. Your dash cam shows you arriving at the vehicle at 3:17, but the audio is corrupted. We can see video of you approaching the vehicle, searching the area, but we can't hear any radio communication. The audio was fine. I tested the system at the start of my shift. We believe you, but the audio from 3:17 to 4:14 is completely missing from the recording. Just static. I felt a cold sensation in my chest. Pull the cell tower data. My radio uses cellular relay in that area. The towers will have records of the transmission. They pulled it. No record of any transmission from my radio between 3:17 and 4:14. 57 minutes of missing communication. I drove back to the scene that afternoon, stood on the shoulder at mile marker 31 where the Honda had been, walked 30 feet into the brush where the K9 had lost the scent. There was nothing there. Just dirt and rocks and scrub brush. No depression, no disturbance, nothing to indicate anyone had stood there. But when I looked back at the highway, at the spot where the Honda had been parked, I noticed something. The gravel on the shoulder was undisturbed. No tire tracks, no displacement. Like the car had been placed there, not driven there. I took photos, documented it, sent them to the investigation team. They came back with an explanation. Wind and traffic had probably smoothed out the tracks. The car had been there for several hours before I found it. Plenty of time for evidence to degrade. But I knew what I'd seen. Fresh gravel, perfectly smooth, with no indication a 3,000-pound vehicle had been sitting there. The investigation continued for 2 weeks. No trace of William Brandt, no activity on his credit cards, no cell phone pings, no sightings. He'd vanished completely. The Honda was released to his sister. She drove it back to San Antonio, called me a few days later. I went through the car, she said, looking for any clue about what happened. Find anything? No, but there's something weird, the odometer. What about it? Will's car had 47,000 miles when he left Austin. I know because he mentioned it. Said he needed to get an oil change soon. When I picked up the car, the odometer showed 47,000 miles. Maybe he got the oil change. No, you don't understand. It should have shown at least 47,150. Austin to where you found the car is 75 miles each way, but the odometer didn't change at all. Like the car had been teleported, picked up from one location and placed in another without actually traveling the distance. I didn't have a response to that. The case went cold. William Brandt remained missing, status unknown, investigation suspended pending new leads. But I couldn't let it go. I started driving Highway 16 on my off days, same route Brandt would have taken from Austin to San Antonio, stopping at mile marker 31, walking the area, looking for anything we might have missed. 3 months later, December 2020, I was making one of these trips when I pulled over at mile marker 31. Evening this time, sun setting, temperature dropping. I got out, walked to the spot where the Honda had been, stood there looking at the highway, and I felt it, hard to describe, like a pressure in my ears, or a change in air density, like standing too close to a power line, that low hum you feel more than hear. I took a step back, and the feeling disappeared. Stepped forward again, and it returned. I pulled out my phone, opened the compass app. The needle was spinning, unable to lock onto magnetic north. I moved 10 feet away, and it stabilized, moved back to the spot, and it started spinning again. Something was wrong with that location, some kind of magnetic anomaly or interference. I called a friend who worked with the geology department at University of Texas, asked if there were any known magnetic anomalies in the area. He checked, came back with nothing. No recorded anomalies, no geological formations that would cause interference. But I knew what I'd felt. I went back the next week with a Gauss meter, a device that measures magnetic fields. Set it up at the spot where the Honda had been parked. Normal reading for Earth's magnetic field is about 50 microteslas. The meter should have shown something close to that. It showed 380 microteslas, 7 times normal. I moved the meter 10 feet in any direction, and the reading dropped to normal. Only that specific spot, about 15 feet in diameter, showed the elevated field. I documented it, sent the readings to my geology friend. He didn't have an explanation. Suggested maybe there was metal buried under the surface or some kind of power line interference. But there were no power lines nearby, and ground-penetrating radar showed nothing buried under the shoulder. The anomaly was just there, existing for no reason we could identify. I started checking other locations where vehicles had been found abandoned in the area. Over the next few months, I identified 4 more spots, all within a 50-mile radius, all showing the same elevated magnetic readings. All of them had unsolved missing person cases connected to them. I compiled everything into a report, submitted it to the investigative unit. They filed it, thanked me for my thoroughness, and didn't follow up. Because what were they supposed to do with it? Magnetic anomalies don't make people disappear. They don't move cars 70 miles without adding to the odometer. They don't erase radio communications or corrupt audio recordings. But something did. In March 2021, 5 months after Brandt disappeared, I got a call from his sister. "I don't know if this means anything," she said, "but I got a call from Will's credit card company. Someone tried to use his card at a gas station in Kerrville." "When?" "Yesterday. The purchase was declined because I'd frozen the account, but it registered in the system." "What time?" 3:17 a.m. The same time I'd found his car. I contacted the gas station, pulled security footage. At 3:17 a.m., a man matching William Brandt's description walked into the store, selected a few items, tried to pay with a credit card. When the card was declined, he seemed confused, checked his wallet, then left without the items. The clerk didn't remember him. Said she served dozens of people that night, couldn't recall anyone specific. But the footage was clear. William Brandt, or someone who looked exactly like him, had been in that gas station 5 months after he vanished. I drove to Kerrville, showed the clerk a photo of Brandt. "Oh yeah," she said. "I do remember him now." He seemed out of it, like he was confused about where he was. Asked what date it was. When I told him March, he looked shocked. Asked me to repeat it. Did he say anything else? He asked how to get to San Antonio. I gave him directions and he left. Did you see what he was driving? No, sorry. I checked the parking lot footage. At 3:17, a silver Honda Accord pulled into the lot. Brandt got out, went into the store, came back out, got in the car, and drove away heading south toward San Antonio. License plate matched his vehicle. The vehicle his sister had picked up from our impound 5 months earlier. I called her immediately. "Where's your brother's car right now?" "In my garage." "Why?" "Can you check the odometer?" She put me on hold, came back 2 minutes later. "It still shows 47,000 miles. You sure you haven't driven it?" "Positive. I can't bring myself to use it. It's been sitting in my garage since I brought it home." But security footage showed Brandt driving that same car 5 months later, 300 miles away. I pulled the traffic cam footage from Highway 16 for March 14th. At 3:29 a.m., a silver Honda Accord appeared on camera heading south from Kerrville. At 3:47, it disappeared from the system again. Last camera to capture it showed it passing mile marker 35, 9 miles north of where I'd originally found it. I drove out there the next day, checked mile marker 35. No vehicle, no sign of anything unusual. But when I pulled out the Gauss meter, the reading spiked to 380 microteslas. Same anomaly, different location. I documented everything, filed an updated report, requested the case be reopened. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a detective in San Antonio. They'd found William Brandt. He'd walked into a police station that morning, confused and disoriented, asking for help. Said he'd been driving home from Austin, pulled over on Highway 16 because he felt dizzy, got out of his car to get some air, and suddenly it was 5 months later. No memory of the intervening time, no idea how he'd gotten to San Antonio, no explanation for where he'd been. Medical examination showed he was healthy, well-fed, no signs of trauma or substance abuse, just missing 5 months of his life. The detective asked if I wanted to talk to him. I drove down the next day. Brandt was sitting in an interview room looking exhausted. When I entered, he looked up with red eyes. "They tell me you're the one who found my car," he said. "That's correct." "Can you tell me what happened? Because I don't remember anything." I walked him through it. Finding his car at 3:17 a.m., engine running, no sign of him. The search, the investigation, the missing months. He listened, shaking his head. "That's impossible. I pulled over because I felt dizzy, maybe 10 p.m. It was dark. I was on Highway 16, somewhere in the hills. I got out, walked a few steps, and then I was standing in downtown San Antonio, and it was morning, and people were staring at me." "You don't remember anything between pulling over and appearing in San Antonio?" "Nothing. It feels like no time passed at all." "You appeared on security footage at a gas station in Kerrville in March, 5 months after you disappeared." He looked genuinely confused. "I didn't. I've never been to that gas station." "The footage shows you trying to use your credit card." "My card's been in my wallet the whole time." "Well, I thought it had been. I don't know anymore." I showed him the footage. He watched himself walk into the store, try to pay, leave. "That's me," he said quietly. "But I don't remember it." "The clerk said you asked what date it was." "Did I?" He rubbed his face. "I don't know. I don't remember any of this." The interview didn't yield anything useful. Brandt had no memory of the missing time, no explanation for how he'd appeared and disappeared multiple times over 5 months. The case was closed with no resolution. Brandt returned to his life, tried to move forward, but something had changed. His sister told me he was different now, quieter, more withdrawn. Stopped driving long distances, avoided Highway 16 completely. I kept monitoring the magnetic anomalies. They remained stable, always reading 380 microteslas, always in the same locations. Over the next year, 3 more people disappeared from Highway 16 in the same area. All of them reappeared weeks or months later with no memory of the intervening time. All their vehicles were found with engines running, keys in the ignition, at locations corresponding to the magnetic anomalies. The pattern was clear. Something about those spots, those specific locations, was causing people to disappear and reappear with no memory of where they'd been. I submitted reports, testified to investigators, provided all my documentation. They filed it away, called it a coincidence, said the magnetic readings were probably natural variation. But I know different. I still patrol Highway 16 sometimes, still check the anomalies, monitoring for changes. They're still there, still registering 380 microteslas, still waiting. And sometimes, late at night when the highway is empty, I pull over at mile marker 31. Stand in that spot where I found Brandt's car. Feel that pressure, that hum, that sense of something wrong with the space itself. I don't stay long, because I know what happened to Brandt could happen to anyone, including me. And I'm not ready to lose 5 months of my life to find out where that spot leads. So I document it, monitor it, wait for someone smarter than me to figure out what's happening. But the reports keep getting filed away, and people keep disappearing from Highway 16, and their cars keep appearing with engines running, keys in the ignition at spots where magnetic fields spike to 7 times normal. I don't know what it means. I just know it's still happening. And last week I got a call from dispatch. Silver Honda Accord, mile marker 31, engine running, no driver, different plate, different owner, same spot. I responded, found the car exactly as described. Engine running, keys in ignition, personal items inside. No driver. I pulled out my Gauss meter, 380 microteslas, filed the report. And now I'm waiting to see if this driver reappears in 5 months with no memory, waiting to see if they show up on gas station footage trying to pay with frozen credit cards, waiting to see if the pattern holds. Because if it does, if this keeps happening, then somewhere there's an answer. A reason why certain spots on Highway 16 reach out and take people. A reason why they come back with missing time and no memory. A reason why their cars appear and disappear and reappear. Odometers unchanged, as if distance has no meaning in whatever space they're passing through. I don't have those answers yet, but I'm still looking, still monitoring, still documenting. Because someone needs to. Someone needs to remember the people who step into those anomalies and vanish. Someone needs to be there when they come back, even if they don't remember leaving. There are roads you stop using, not because they're dangerous, not because they're closed, but because something about them just feels wrong. You can't explain it in a report, can't point to specific evidence, but your gut tells you to find a different route. Farm Road, 1121 in Crockett County, is one of those roads for me. I've been a Texas state trooper for 22 years. Worked every kind of terrain from the piney woods to the Big Bend. Seen accidents that defy physics. Pulled bodies from situations that shouldn't have been survivable. Investigated crimes that made me question what people are capable of. But nothing prepared me for what happened on FM 1121. It started in June 2019. I was working the night shift, patrolling the area between Sheffield and Ozona. Empty country out there, ranches measured in square miles, population density close to zero. The kind of place where you can drive for an hour and not see another vehicle. At 1:34 a.m., dispatch called with a missing person report. Unit 264, we've got a report of a missing hiker in your area. Female, mid-20s, last seen on FM 1121, approximately mile marker 18. Caller is her boyfriend. Says they got separated during a day hike and she didn't return to their camp. Copy. What's the timeline? She was last seen around 6 p.m. yesterday evening. Boyfriend waited at camp, assuming she'd circle back. When she didn't show by nightfall, he drove into Ozona to get cell signal and call it in. 7.5 hours missing in West Texas wilderness. Not good. I headed to mile marker 18, called for additional units and search and rescue. The boyfriend was waiting there when I arrived, standing next to a pickup truck, looking anxious. His name was Tyler, early 30s, outdoor type, wearing hiking boots and a headlamp. He'd been crying. She knows this area, he said. We've hiked here before. She's experienced. She wouldn't just get lost. Tell me exactly what happened. We set up camp off the road around noon. Did a loop hike, about 4 miles. Around 5, we split up. She wanted to check out a canyon to the west. I wanted to climb a ridge to the east. We agreed to meet back at camp by 6:30. And she didn't show? No. I waited until 8, then started searching. Called her name, followed the trail she would have taken, but it was getting dark and I didn't want to get lost too. Drove into town, called you guys. She have a phone? Yeah, but no signal out here. I've tried calling, goes straight to voicemail. Any medical conditions? Medications she needs? No, she's healthy, fit, good hiker. We organized a search pattern. Tyler showed me the trail his girlfriend would have taken, a path heading west toward a series of small canyons. Search and rescue arrived with dogs, thermal imaging, the works. We searched through the night. Covered 10 square miles, called her name, followed every trail and drainage. The dogs picked up a scent heading west, tracked it for about 2 miles, then lost it in a rocky area. No sign of her, no clothing, no gear, no indication of injury or animal attack. By dawn, we'd found nothing. We expanded the search, brought in helicopters, volunteers from local ranching families who knew the terrain. Covered 50 square miles over 3 days. She was gone. The case went to the investigators. They interviewed Tyler extensively, checked his story, verified his timeline. Everything checked out. He'd been genuinely trying to find her, no signs of foul play, no motive. She'd just vanished in the wilderness near mile marker 18 on FM 1121. 3 weeks later, I got another call. Different missing person. Same road. Unit 264, we've got a report of a missing hunter. Male, 48, last seen on FM 1121, mile marker 18. He was bow hunting yesterday afternoon. Didn't return to his vehicle by nightfall. I felt my stomach tighten. Same location as the missing hiker? Affirmative. I responded. Found his truck parked on the shoulder with his camping gear still inside. His hunting partner was there, a man named Gary who'd been hunting a different area and came back to find his friend gone. Rich knows what he's doing, Gary said. 20 years of hunting experience. He wouldn't just wander off and get lost. We searched. Same pattern, same result. The dogs tracked a scent heading west for about 2 miles. Lost it in the rocks. No sign of Rich. 4 days of searching, and we came up empty. 2 missing people in 3 weeks. Same road, same mile marker, same direction of travel before they vanished. I started looking into the history of FM 1121. Requested records of missing person reports in the area going back 20 years. What I found made my skin crawl. 14 people had been reported missing from mile marker 18 on FM 1121 since '99. Different ages, different genders, different reasons for being there. Hikers, hunters, photographers, motorists who'd pulled over and walked into the brush. All of them vanished heading west. None of them were ever found. The pattern was clear, but nobody had connected it before because the reports were spread out over 2 decades, handled by different agencies, filed in different databases. It took cross-referencing state police records, county sheriff reports, and Park Service data to see the full scope. 14 people, same location, same direction. All gone. I compiled everything into a report, submitted it to the investigative unit with a recommendation to close FM 1121 to public access pending further investigation. The response was not what I expected. "We can't close a state highway based on missing person reports," the lieutenant said. "People go missing in West Texas wilderness all the time. It's dangerous country. The fact that some of them happen near the same mile marker is probably coincidence. 14 people over 20 years, all heading west from the exact same spot? The road runs through 50 miles of wilderness. People access that wilderness from various points along the road. Some of those points are more popular than others. Mile marker 18 has good shoulder parking, easy trail access. Makes sense people would use it as a starting point. And the fact that none of them were ever found? West Texas is a big place. We don't find everyone." They filed my report, thanked me for the thoroughness, and sent me back to patrol. But I couldn't let it go. I started driving FM 1121 on my days off, studying the area around mile marker 18, looking for anything that might explain the disappearances. The road runs through typical West Texas terrain. Rocky hills, scattered mesquite, dry creek beds. Nothing unusual about the landscape. Nothing that screamed danger. But there was something about the feel of it. Hard to articulate. Just a sense of wrongness when you stood at mile marker 18 and looked west, like the land was waiting for something, like it was hungry. I talked to local ranchers, asked if they'd noticed anything unusual in the area. Most of them avoided the topic, changed the subject, made excuses to end the conversation. But one old-timer named Holt was willing to talk. "That stretch of road's been bad for as long as I can remember," he said. "My daddy told me to stay away from it, and his daddy told him the same. Ain't nothing good west of mile marker 18. "What do you mean, bad?" "Just bad. Cattle won't graze there. Wild animals avoid it. You don't see deer, don't see javelina, don't even see many birds. It's empty in a way that ain't natural." "You ever go out there?" "Once, when I was young and stupid. Got about a mile west of the road before I felt it." "Felt what?" He was quiet for a moment, choosing his words. "Like something was watching me. Like I wasn't supposed to be there. Turned around and didn't look back." "Ever hear of people going missing from there?" "Heard stories. Folks passing through, stopping to stretch their legs, wandering off and not coming back. Happens enough that locals know better than to stop there anymore." "Why hasn't anyone reported this officially?" He shrugged. "Who's gonna believe it? Can't prove anything. People disappear in the wilderness all the time. Easier to just avoid it and tell others to do the same." I asked if he knew the exact location where he'd felt the watching sensation. He described it, and I marked it on my map. About 2 miles west of mile marker 18. The same distance the search dogs had tracked before losing the scent. I decided to check it out myself. Went during daylight, brought a GPS, compass, plenty of water, and a radio. Told dispatch where I was going, and to send someone if I wasn't back in 3 hours. The hike west from mile marker 18 was straightforward. Gentle terrain, easy navigation, no obstacles. Temperature was in the mid-80s, sky clear, visibility unlimited. At about 1.7 miles, I started feeling it, like Holt had described, a sense of being watched, of not being welcome. I stopped, surveyed the area. Nothing unusual, just rocks and scrub and empty land. But the feeling persisted. I checked my compass. The needle was steady, pointing north as it should. GPS showed my exact coordinates, functioning normally. I continued west. At exactly 2 miles, the feeling intensified. Like a pressure building in my chest, a weight pushing against me. I stopped again, looked around carefully. That's when I noticed the silence. Complete silence. No wind, no insects, no birds, just absolute quiet. Like I'd stepped into a soundproof room. I took another step west. The pressure increased. My vision blurred slightly at the edges. I took a step back, and the sensation eased. Forward again, and it returned, stronger. I was standing at some kind of boundary, an invisible line where something changed. I pulled out my phone, took photos, documented the coordinates. Then I carefully stepped across the line, moving west into whatever was on the other side. The pressure was immediate and intense. Like walking underwater, every movement requiring extra effort. The silence was complete, oppressive. I could see my surroundings clearly. Nothing had changed visually. Same rocks, same plants, same landscape. But something was different. I walked forward 20 feet, breathing hard from the effort. Felt like I was pushing through something thick and resistant. Then I heard it. Voices. Faint, distant, coming from no direction I could identify. Male and female, speaking words I couldn't quite make out. Not English, not Spanish, not any language I recognized. Just sounds that might be language, or might be something else. I turned around, started back toward the boundary. The voices got louder. Not threatening, not beckoning. Just there, present. Like a conversation happening in another room, muffled but persistent. I crossed the boundary back into normal space, and the voices stopped. The pressure released, sound returned. Wind, insects, birds. I stood there breathing hard, heart racing, and pulled out my GPS. It showed I'd traveled 40 feet west, but I'd walked at least 100. I checked the timestamp on my photos. According to my phone, I'd been gone for 2 minutes. According to my watch, it had been 20. I radioed dispatch. Unit 264, I'm heading back. Everything's fine, but I'm coming in now. Copy. You're 20 minutes early. Understood. I hiked back to FM 1121, got in my unit, and drove straight to the office. Spent the rest of the day trying to make sense of what I'd experienced. The boundary, the pressure, the voices, the time and distance discrepancies. None of it made sense. But I knew one thing for certain. Whatever was happening 2 miles west of mile marker 18 on FM 1121, it was real, and it was dangerous. I filed a supplemental report documenting my experience, including the GPS data and photos. The response was swift. "Trooper Hayes, we need to talk about your report," the lieutenant said. "You're describing physical sensations, auditory hallucinations, time distortion. These are symptoms of heat exhaustion, dehydration, possibly a medical condition." I was fully hydrated. Temperature was mild. I felt fine physically. "Then, what are you suggesting? Some kind of supernatural phenomenon?" "I'm suggesting there's something at that location that causes disorientation and potentially leads to the missing person reports we've documented. Based on feelings and voices you can't explain. Based on objective measurements, GPS and time discrepancies. Physical sensations that coincide exactly with where the search dogs lose sense. Dogs lose sense in rocky areas. GPS can be unreliable in certain terrain. These aren't unexplainable phenomena, they're normal variations in technology and animal behavior. Sir, 14 people have vanished from this location over 20 years. And we've investigated each case. No evidence of foul play, no pattern except that people sometimes get lost in wilderness areas. You're seeing connections that aren't there. I'm seeing a clear pattern of disappearances from a specific location that has documented anomalous properties. He was quiet for a moment. I'm ordering you to stop investigating this. You're spending too much time on it, developing theories that aren't supported by evidence. Focus on your regular patrol duties. If you continue pursuing this, I'll have to recommend a fitness for duty evaluation. I stopped arguing, went back to work, did my job. But I also stopped driving FM 1121. 2 months later, August 2019, another missing person report. Mile marker 18, FM 1121. Young couple on a road trip, pulled over to take photos. Boyfriend wandered west and didn't come back. They sent a different unit to respond. Trooper named Walsh. He searched, found nothing, filed a report. I watched from a distance, monitoring the radio traffic, reading the reports as they came in. Same pattern, same result. A week after that, Walsh put in for a transfer, requested assignment to a different region, different patrol area. I ran into him at the office before he left. "Heard you're transferring," I said. "Yeah, need a change of scenery. You went to FM 1121 last week, mile marker 18. His expression changed. "Yeah, you felt it." He didn't ask what I meant, just nodded slowly. I walked out there, about 2 miles west, started feeling like something was wrong, came back. "You experience anything else? Voices? Time distortion? How did you know about the voices?" "I've been there." "What is that place?" "I don't know, but I know people who go too far west from that road don't come back." "I'm not going back," he said, "ever. I don't care what dispatch says, I'm not responding to that location again." "Neither am I." He transferred 2 weeks later. Last I heard, he was working traffic in Houston, far from FM 1121 and whatever waits 2 miles west of mile marker 18. The missing person reports continued. September 2019, elderly photographer. November 2019, geology student. January 2020, ranch hand who'd lived in the area his whole life and should have known better. All from mile marker 18. All heading west. All gone. The investigations followed the same pattern. Search teams deployed. Dogs tracking scents for 2 miles, then losing them. Helicopters and thermal imaging finding nothing. Cases filed as unsolved missing persons. No evidence of foul play. Presumed lost in wilderness. But I knew different, and so did the locals who avoided that stretch of road, who told their kids not to stop there, who drove past mile marker 18 without slowing down, eyes forward, not looking west. They knew. I started asking around quietly, talking to old families who'd been in the area for generations. Found a woman in her 80s named Sarah, who remembered stories from her grandmother. Gran said that land was wrong, Sarah told me. Said her mother knew it, and her mother before that. Goes back to before the white folks came, back when it was just native tribes passing through. They had names for it. Places you don't go. Places that take. Take what? Whatever crosses the boundary. People, animals, doesn't matter. You step into that space, you don't come back. Did she say why? What's causing it? Just that some places are thin. thin between here and somewhere else, and if you're not careful, you fall through. Through to where? She shrugged. Wherever things go that don't come back. I asked if anyone had ever returned from the area west of mile marker 18. Not that I ever heard. Once you go past that line, you're gone. Simple as that. Then why haven't they closed the road? Posted warnings? What would the warnings say? Don't walk west or you'll disappear into thin air? Who'd believe it? Better to just know and avoid it. Let the fools who don't listen learn for themselves. The missing person count reached 18 by the end of 2020. 4 more in 2021. 22 people total since I'd started tracking, and probably more before that who were never officially reported. I stopped filing reports about it. Stopped trying to convince anyone there was a pattern. Just quietly documented each case, updated my private files, and watched as people kept vanishing from the same spot. And I never drove FM 1121 anymore. Found alternate routes for my patrol area, added miles to my drives rather than pass through that section. Dispatch noticed, asked about it. I said I was varying my patrol patterns for strategic purposes. They didn't push it. Other troopers who'd been to mile marker 18 did the same. Quietly found other routes. Never talked about why, never filed reports about what they'd experienced. Just avoided it. Because what were we supposed to say? That there's a spot 2 miles west of a state highway where reality gets thin and people disappear. That we'd felt it ourselves, heard voices, experienced time distortions that couldn't be explained? We were supposed to deal in facts and evidence, measurable, provable phenomena, not whatever was happening out there. Last month, I retired from the Department of Public Safety. 22 years of service, commendations for excellence, clean record. At my retirement party, a young trooper fresh out of the academy asked me for advice. Learn the roads, I told him. Know your patrol area. And if something feels wrong, trust your gut. What do you mean, feels wrong? I thought about FM 1121, about mile marker 18, about the boundary 2 miles west where pressure builds and voices whisper and people vanish. There are places where the rules are different, I said, where what you learned in the academy doesn't apply. You'll know them when you find them, and when you do, stay away. How do I know if I've found one? You'll feel it. Like something's watching you, like you're not supposed to be there. When you feel that, turn around and don't go back. And if I'm responding to a call in one of those areas? I looked at him for a long moment. Young, eager, ready to serve and protect. Call for backup, I said. And whatever you do, don't go west. He laughed, thinking I was joking. Making up stories to scare the rookie. I didn't correct him. 6 weeks after I retired, I heard about another missing person. Mile marker 18, FM 1121. Trooper responding to a call parked his unit, walked west to investigate, didn't come back. His partner found his vehicle 3 hours later. Keys in the ignition, radio on, flashlight sitting on the hood pointing west. No sign of the trooper. The search followed the familiar pattern. Dogs tracked for 2 miles, lost the scent. Helicopters, thermal imaging, volunteers. Nothing. They searched for a week, then called it off. Listed him as missing, presumed lost in the wilderness. I wanted to tell them the truth, that he wasn't lost, that he'd crossed the boundary and fallen through to wherever things go when they leave our reality. But who would believe me? So I kept quiet. And I think about him sometimes. About all of them. 23 documented cases, probably dozens more that were never reported or never connected to the pattern. All of them somewhere west of mile marker 18 on FM 1121. All of them past the boundary where the rules change and reality gets thin. I don't know where they are. Don't know if they're alive or dead or something in between. I just know they're not coming back. And I know that 2 miles west of mile marker 18, there's a place where voices whisper and time distorts and people vanish. A place I walked into once and barely made it out of. A place I'll never go again. Because some roads you stop using, not because they're dangerous, but because they lead somewhere you were never meant to go. And whatever's waiting there doesn't give back what it takes. The dead cases stay with you. The ones you worked hard, followed every lead, exhausted every possibility, and still came up with nothing. Those files sit in storage somewhere, gathering dust, waiting for new evidence that never comes. You think about them sometimes. Late at night, when you can't sleep, wondering what you missed, what you could have done different. But you never expect them to call you back. I've been with the Texas Department of Public Safety for 18 years. Worked major cases, minor cases, everything in between. Built a reputation as someone who doesn't give up easily, who follows threads until they lead somewhere or break completely. Most of my cases close. Arrests made, prosecution successful, justice served in whatever form it takes. But case number TX 2011-0847 was different. I worked it in August 2011, my 5th year on the job. Missing woman, 34 years old, name of Rachel Sawyer. Last seen at a rest area on I-20 near the town of Pyote, out in the middle of nowhere between Odessa and the New Mexico line. Her car was found abandoned at the rest area, keys in the ignition, purse on the passenger seat, phone plugged into the charger. Everything you'd expect if someone stepped away for a minute and was planning to come right back. But Rachel never came back. Security cameras at the rest area showed her pulling in at 3:42 a.m., parking in a well-lit spot near the building, getting out of her car. She walked toward the restroom building, entered through the women's entrance at 3:44 a.m. The cameras showed her entering. They never showed her leaving. We searched that rest area for days. Went through every trash can, every maintenance closet, checked the plumbing, the roof access, every possible place someone could hide or be hidden. Nothing. Interviewed every person who'd been at the rest area that night. Truck drivers, travelers, maintenance workers. Nobody saw anything. Nobody heard anything. Rachel walked into a restroom at a public rest area with working security cameras and vanished. We expanded the search to the surrounding area, thinking maybe she'd left the restroom somehow without being caught on camera, wandered into the desert, got disoriented. Found nothing. No tracks, no clothing, no sign she'd ever been there except for her car sitting in the parking lot with everything inside it. The case went cold. Stayed cold for months, then years. I moved on to other cases, but I kept Rachel's file in my desk drawer. Pulled it out sometimes, reviewed the evidence, looked for anything I might have missed. Never found it. Eventually, the file was officially closed and sent to storage. Unsolved missing person. No evidence of foul play, no leads to pursue. That was 12 years ago. Last Thursday, at 2:17 a.m., my phone rang. I was off duty, home in bed, deep asleep. The ringtone was the special one I'd set for dispatch, the one that meant something urgent. I answered on the third ring. Hayes. Trooper Hayes, this is night dispatch. We've received a call we need you to respond to. I'm off duty. Can't someone else take it? The caller specifically requested you, by name. That was unusual. I sat up, turning on the bedside lamp. What's the nature of the call? Missing person. Rest area on I-20 near Pyote. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Can you repeat that? Missing person. Rest area on I-20 near Pyote. Female. Caller states she's concerned about a woman who entered the restroom and hasn't come out. When was this called in? 3 minutes ago. The caller is still on scene waiting for response. I was already getting dressed. I'm 40 minutes out. Send the nearest unit as backup. Copy that. Caller provided a reference number, said you'd know the case. TX 2011-0847. My hand froze on my shirt. What did you say? TX 2011-0847. Caller said it's related to an old case you worked. That case was closed 12 years ago. I'm just relaying what the caller said. She was very specific about the number and insisted we contact you. Did you get her name? Negative. She declined to provide identification. Said you'd understand when you arrived. I finished dressing, grabbed my service weapon and badge, headed for the door. I'm en route. Tell the caller I'll be there in 35 minutes. Copy. I made the drive in 30 minutes, pushing my personal vehicle harder than I should have. My mind was racing. TX 2011-0847. Rachel Sawyer's case number. A case that had been closed and filed away years ago. Who would know that number? Who would call it in at 2:17 in the morning and specifically request me? The rest area came into view, lit by the same harsh fluorescent lights I remembered from 12 years ago. The layout was unchanged. Same building, same parking spots, same placement of security cameras. There was one vehicle in the lot. Dark sedan, parked near the restroom building. No other cars, no trucks, just that single sedan. I pulled in, parked, radioed dispatch. Unit 357, I'm on scene. One vehicle present appears occupied. Copy. Backup unit is 15 minutes out. I approached the sedan carefully, flashlight in one hand. As I got closer, I could see someone sitting in the driver's seat. Female, dark hair, watching me in the side mirror. I tapped on the window. She rolled it down. Mid-30s, plain features, wearing a light jacket despite the summer heat. "Are you Trooper Hayes?" she asked. "I am. You're the one who called this in." "Yes. Can I see some identification?" "I'd rather not provide that right now." "Ma'am, if you're reporting a crime, I need to know who you are." "I'm reporting a disappearance, and I think you'll understand why I'm reluctant to identify myself once you hear what I have to say." I studied her face. She didn't look threatening, didn't seem unstable, just calm, determined, and strangely familiar in a way I couldn't place. "Why did you reference case number TX 2011-0847? "Because that's what this is. The same case, the same woman. That case was from 2011, 12 years ago. I know, I was there. You were where? Here. This rest area. August 4th, 2011. I saw Rachel Sawyer go into that restroom. I saw her disappear. There were no witnesses to her disappearance. We interviewed everyone who was here that night. You didn't interview me. I didn't come forward. I was scared. Scared of what?" She looked at the restroom building. "Of what I saw." "Which was?" "I need to show you. But you have to promise you'll listen with an open mind. What I'm about to tell you sounds impossible, but it's true. Ma'am, I need you to give me your name before we continue this conversation." "My name is Rachel Sawyer." I took a step back. Rachel Sawyer disappeared in 2011. "I know, I'm her." I looked at her carefully. The face was similar to the photos I remembered from the case file. Same general features, same dark hair, but the woman in front of me looked younger than Rachel would be now. Rachel would be 46. This woman looked mid-30s at most. You understand that impersonating a missing person is a serious offense. I'm not impersonating anyone. I am Rachel Sawyer, and I know how insane that sounds, but I need you to listen. Do you have identification?" She reached into her jacket, pulled out a driver's license. Texas license issued in 2009. Name, Rachel Ann Sawyer. Date of birth matched the Rachel from my case file. Photo matched the woman in front of me, but the license had expired 12 years ago. This doesn't prove anything. This could be the original Rachel's license. It is, because I'm the original Rachel. I've been trying to figure out how to explain this for 12 years, and I finally realized I just need to show you. Show me what? She got out of the car, walked toward the restroom building. I followed, hand near my weapon, ready for anything. She stopped at the women's restroom entrance, the same door Rachel had walked through in 2011. It happened at 3:44 a.m., she said. I pulled in to use the restroom, walked through this door, and everything changed. Changed how? I walked into a bathroom that doesn't exist. At least, not in the normal way. I'm going to need you to be more specific. When I walked through this door in 2011, I entered a restroom. But it wasn't this restroom. It was somewhere else. Somewhere that looks like this rest area but isn't. You're describing another dimension. I don't know what to call it, but I've been there for 12 years, and now I'm back, and I need your help to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. I wanted to dismiss this as a mentally unstable person with delusions, but something about her tone, her calm delivery, the specific details she knew about the case. Let me get this straight. You're claiming you disappeared into an alternate restroom 12 years ago and just now returned? Not exactly. I've been coming back every night for the past 12 years, trying to warn people, trying to stop it from happening again, but tonight's the first night someone actually saw me and called you. Someone saw you tonight? Yes. A woman went into the restroom 20 minutes ago. She hasn't come out. Same thing that happened to me is happening to her. That's why I called. I pulled out my radio. Dispatch, I need you to review security camera footage from the rest area. Check the women's restroom entrance, last 30 minutes. Copy, stand by. I looked at the woman claiming to be Rachel. If what you're saying is true, the cameras will show the woman entering. They will, but they won't show her leaving, same as they showed me entering but not leaving. 2 minutes later, dispatch came back. Unit 357, we've reviewed the footage. At 1:56 a.m., a female subject entered the women's restroom. No one has exited since then. 21 minutes. A woman had been in there for 21 minutes. I keyed my radio. I'm going to check the restroom. Send that backup unit code 3. I turned to Rachel. Stay here. You can't go in there. There's potentially someone in distress I have to check. If you go in, you might not come back. What am I supposed to do, stand here and wait? She looked at me with an expression I couldn't read, sadness maybe, or resignation. If you go in, take my hand. Don't let go. It's the only way to make sure you come back. Ma'am, I appreciate your concern, but I have a job to do. I walked to the restroom entrance, pushed the door open. Standard rest area bathroom, tile floor, metal stalls, sinks with automatic faucets, fluorescent lights humming overhead. Empty. I checked every stall. All doors open, all empty. Checked the corners, the ceiling, anywhere someone could potentially hide. No one there. I walked back outside. There's no one in there. Rachel nodded. I know, she's gone. Same as I was gone. Same as all the others. What others? Over the past 12 years, I've watched 17 people walk into that restroom and not come out. 17 people who disappeared the same way I did. I tried calling it in before, but nobody believed me. Tonight I used your case number, hoping that would get your attention. If this has been happening for 12 years, why haven't there been more reports? Because it doesn't happen every night, only certain nights, when the alignment is right. Alignment of what? I don't know. I just know that some nights, when you walk through that door, you don't enter a normal bathroom. You enter somewhere else. I was about to respond when my radio crackled. Unit 357, we've pulled the full night's camera footage. We show multiple subjects entering the women's restroom tonight, all exiting normally. The only one still inside is the subject at 156, but we also show someone who appears to match that description exiting at 203. That's impossible. I just checked. Nobody's in there and nobody's come out since I've been here. Footage clearly shows an exit at 203. Subject left the restroom, walked to a vehicle in the parking lot, drove away. I looked at Rachel. The cameras show her leaving. The cameras show a lot of things that didn't happen, or that happened differently than they're recorded. You're saying the cameras are wrong? I'm saying the cameras record what's supposed to happen, what happens in normal space. But when someone crosses over, the cameras fill in the gaps, show them leaving when they didn't, show everything as normal because that's what the system expects to see. That was too much. Ma'am, I think you need to come with me. We can continue this conversation at the station. You can take me in, you can question me all night, but it won't change what's happening here. Right now, there's a woman trapped in whatever space exists beyond that door. And unless we do something, she's going to be there for 12 years like I was. How did you get out? I didn't, not really. I'm still there. But I can come back to this side for short periods. Between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock a.m., when the alignment is strongest, I can cross back over. But I have to return before dawn, or I'll be stuck on this side and lose my way back. I was trying to process this, trying to find a rational explanation. If you can cross back and forth, why can't the others? I don't know. Maybe because I was the first. Maybe because I figured out the pattern, but the others, they're still there, still trapped, still waiting. Backup arrived, Unit 426, trooper named Morrison. I briefed him on the situation, left out the more impossible parts, focused on the facts. Missing person report, possible witness, checking the premises. Together we searched the rest area again. Thoroughly, methodically checking every possible location someone could hide or be hidden. Found nothing. Morrison checked the cameras from dispatch's remote access. Shows the woman leaving at 2003, vehicle departing at 2005, everything normal. Then where is she? He shrugged. Maybe she did leave and our witness here got confused about the timing. I looked at Rachel. She was standing by her car, watching us with that same calm expression. Let me talk to her alone for a minute, I said to Morrison. He nodded, walked to his unit to file the report. I approached Rachel. The cameras show the woman leaving. There's no evidence anyone's missing. What do you expect me to do? I expect you to believe me. The same way you would have wanted someone to believe you if you'd been the one who disappeared. I investigated your case for months, followed every lead. I wanted to find you, but there was nothing to find. There was plenty to find. You just weren't looking in the right place. Where should I have been looking? She pointed at the restroom. In there. Not the physical bathroom, the other one. The one that exists in the spaces between seconds. That doesn't mean anything. It does if you're willing to see it. Come with me. I'll show you. I'm not going anywhere with you. Then at least look at the case file. Your file. TX 2011-0847. Look at it carefully, and you'll see things that didn't make sense then but might make sense now. The case is closed. It's been closed for years. Open it again, review the evidence, and when you do, you'll notice something strange about the timeline, about the camera footage, about the way the official record doesn't match what actually happened. Morrison called me over. Hayes, I'm clearing the scene. No evidence of a crime, no missing person, Witness statements don't match camera evidence. You want to transport your witness for further questioning? I looked at Rachel. Are you willing to come to the station? I can't. I have to stay here until dawn. After that, I go back. Back where? To the other side. To the bathroom that exists between seconds. That's where I live now. That's where I've lived for 12 years. This isn't making any sense. I know, but it's the truth. And if you don't believe me now, you will eventually. Because this is going to keep happening. Every few months, when the alignment is right, someone's going to walk into that restroom and disappear. And you're going to investigate and find nothing and close the case, just like you did with mine. Morrison was waiting. I made a decision. You're free to go, I told Rachel. But I'm going to follow up on this. If what you're saying is true, I'll find evidence of it. You won't, that's the problem. The evidence disappears with the people. The cameras fill in the gaps. The reports make sense of things that don't make sense. Reality adjusts to accommodate the impossible. Then how do I stop it? You can't. Not without understanding it. And to understand it, you'd have to cross over. See it for yourself. But I don't recommend that. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you cross over, you might not make it back. She got in her car, started the engine. One more thing, I said. If you really are Rachel Sawyer, tell me something only she would know. Something from the case file. She looked at me through the open window. The last thing I saw before I walked into that restroom was a truck driver. Big guy, wearing a red cap, smoking a cigarette by his truck. You interviewed him. He said he didn't see anything unusual, but he was lying. I remembered that interview. The truck driver had seemed nervous, evasive. We'd pushed him on it, but he stuck to his story. Didn't see anything, didn't hear anything. How do you know he was lying? Because he saw me walk into the restroom, and he saw me disappear. Saw the moment when I was there, and then I wasn't. It scared him so bad he left immediately after, drove straight through to California without stopping. You tried to find him for a follow-up interview but couldn't locate him. That was all accurate. The truck driver had left the state before we could re-interview him, and we'd never tracked him down. You could have gotten that information from the case file if you had access to it. I didn't need access. I was there, I lived it. She put the car in gear. Check the cameras from tonight. Really check them, frame by frame. You'll see what I mean about reality filling in gaps. Then she drove away, taillights disappearing west on I-20. I stood there until Morrison called me over. You get anything useful from her? Not sure yet. I need to review some things. Want me to run her plate? I thought about it. If she really was Rachel Sawyer, the plate would come back to a vehicle registered to a missing person. But if that's what it showed, what did that prove? Yeah. Run it. He called it in, came back with the result 5 minutes later. Plate comes back to a 2009 Honda Accord, registered to Rachel Ann Sawyer, San Antonio. Reported missing in 2011, vehicle recovered and released to next of kin in 2012. So, that car should be in San Antonio, owned by Rachel's family. According to the records, yes. But we just watched her drive away in it. Morrison shrugged. Maybe she's a relative. Maybe she has access to the original vehicle. Maybe the family never updated the registration. Maybe. We cleared the scene. I went home, but I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about Rachel, about her story, about the case I'd worked 12 years ago. At 6 a.m., I went to the office, requested the case file for TX 2011-0847 from storage. It took 3 hours to locate it. When they finally brought it up, the clerk looked confused. "This is weird," she said. "The file number doesn't match our indexing system." What do you mean? TX 2011-0847 should be a case from August 2011, right? Right. But our system shows that case number was never assigned. Like it skipped from TX 2011-0846 to TX 2011-0848. 0847 doesn't exist in the database. The file is right there. I worked that case. I know, but according to the computer, this case number was never used. She left me with the file. I opened it, started reading. Everything was as I remembered. Rachel Sawyer, missing from rest area. Extensive search, no evidence, case closed. But as I read through the reports, I noticed something. The timestamps were wrong. According to my original report, I'd arrived on scene at 4:17 a.m. on August 4th, 2011. I'd documented searching the area, interviewing witnesses, calling for additional units. But the camera footage timestamp showed me arriving at 6:22 a.m. 2 hours later than I'd documented. I checked other reports from that night. Everyone's timestamps were off by approximately 2 hours. Like we'd all lost 2 hours somewhere and documented times that didn't match the camera evidence. I'd never noticed it before. Had never had reason to compare the report timestamps to the camera timestamps. They should have matched. There was no reason they wouldn't. Unless Rachel was right. Unless reality had adjusted, filled in gaps, made the impossible seem normal. I pulled the camera footage from last night, watched the woman enter the restroom at 1:56 a.m., watched her exit at 2:03 a.m., exactly as dispatch had described. Then I went frame by frame. At 1:56:43, the woman pushed the door open. At 1:56:44, the door was closing behind her. At 1:56:45, the door was closed. At 2:02:57, the door opened. At 2:02:58, the woman exited. But between 1:56:45 and 2:02:57, there was nothing. No transition frames, no gradual progression of time. The video jumped from the door, closing to the door opening 6 minutes later, with no frames in between. I checked the frame count. There should have been approximately 10,800 frames between those 2 points at 30 frames per second. The video showed 2 frames. The rest were missing. Not corrupted, just gone, like they'd never been recorded. I checked the earlier footage from 2011, from Rachel's disappearance. Same thing. Frames missing, time jumping, reality filling gaps. I sat back, trying to process this. Either I was looking at evidence of a massive technical glitch that had been happening for 12 years, or Rachel was telling the truth. I spent the rest of the day reviewing every missing person report from the I-20 rest area near Peyote going back 20 years. Found 17 cases, 17 people who'd entered the restroom and never came out. All officially closed as unsolved, explained away as people who must have left by some means we didn't capture, who got into vehicles we didn't see, who disappeared into circumstances we couldn't document. But when I checked the camera footage for each case, I found the same thing. Missing frames, time jumps, reality adjusting. 17 people, all gone, all vanished from a bathroom at a rest area in the middle of nowhere. And Rachel Sawyer, appearing every night between 2 and 4 a.m., trying to warn people, trying to stop it from happening again. I drove back to the rest area that night. Got there at 1:47 a.m., parked, waited. At 2:03, a dark sedan pulled in, same car Rachel had been driving. She got out, saw me, walked over. "You believe me now," she said. Not a question. "I believe something's happening that I don't understand. That's a start. Show me. Take me to the other side. Let me see what you see." "I can't. If you cross over, you might not come back. And I need you on this side believing me. documenting this so that maybe someday someone figures out how to stop it. How do I stop something I don't understand? You start by believing it's real. Then you watch, document, look for patterns. Eventually, maybe you'll find a way to close the door, or at least warn people before they walk through it. The cameras will just fill in the gaps. The reports will make it seem normal. How do I fight that? You keep detailed personal records. You trust what you see, not what the official documentation shows. And you remember that 17 people are trapped somewhere beyond that door, waiting for someone to bring them back, including you, including me. I looked at the restroom building. What's it like on the other side? It looks like this, exactly like this. Same rest area, same building, same parking lot, but it's empty. No other people, no traffic, no sound except wind and your own breathing. And time doesn't move the same way. What feels like minutes here is years there. What feels like years there is minutes here. You've been there for 12 years, but you haven't aged. Not on the outside, but inside. I've lived every second of those 12 years, alone in a rest area that exists outside normal time. Why can you come back when the others can't? I don't know. Maybe because I was the first, maybe because I'm stubborn, maybe just luck. But whatever the reason, I can cross between 2 o'clock and 4 a.m., and I use that time to try to save others from the same fate. A vehicle pulled into the rest area. Pickup truck, driver getting out, heading for the men's restroom. Rachel watched him carefully. He'll be fine. It's only the women's side. I don't know why. Have you seen anyone else like you? Anyone else who can cross back? No, I'm alone, always alone. The truck driver finished, got back in his vehicle, drove away. I have to go, Rachel said. Dawn's coming. If I'm still on this side when the sun comes up, I won't be able to cross back. Wait, give me something. Some way to track you, to verify your story, to prove you're real. She reached into her jacket, pulled out a small object, handed it to me. It was a driver's license. Her license. The same one she'd shown me before. This will disappear at dawn, she said. It only exists while I'm on this side. When I cross back, it goes with me. But take a photo of it now. Document it. Keep the photo. It'll show the system that I was here. I took several photos with my phone. Close-ups of the license, her face, the details. Will these disappear too? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But it's worth trying. She got in her car. I'll be back tomorrow night. Same time. If you're here, we can talk more. If you're not, I'll understand. But either way, keep watching. Keep documenting. Don't let them explain this away. She drove off. I watched her taillights disappear. Checked the photos on my phone. Clear images of her license, her face, the date of birth matching Rachel Sawyer's file. I drove home, slept for a few hours. Woke up, checked my phone. The photos were gone, not deleted, just gone, like they'd never been taken. But I remembered taking them, remembered the weight of the license in my hand, the details of her face. I went back to the office, pulled the camera footage from last night, reviewed it carefully. It showed me arriving at 1:47, sitting in my vehicle, getting out at 2:03, walking around the parking lot, standing near the restroom entrance. It didn't show Rachel's car, didn't show me talking to anyone, just showed me standing alone, looking at nothing for 23 minutes, then getting back in my vehicle and driving away. Reality had adjusted, filled in the gaps, made the impossible seem like I'd just been standing around for no reason. I tried to write a report about it, documented what I'd seen, what Rachel had told me, the missing frames and the camera footage. But when I tried to file it, the system rejected it. said the case number TX 2000. Peugeot 847 was invalid. I tried using a different case number. The system accepted it, but when I went back to retrieve the report later, it was gone. Just vanished from the database. I started keeping handwritten notes. Personal journal, not official records. Documenting everything I saw, everything Rachel told me, every missing frame and timeline discrepancy. The journal is in my desk drawer now. 47 pages of observations, notes, timestamps, theories. I go back to the rest area every few weeks. Sometimes Rachel is there, sometimes she's not. When she is, we talk. She tells me more about the other side, about the 17 people trapped there, about the strange physics of a place where time doesn't work normally. I ask her questions, try to understand the mechanism, look for patterns that might explain it. We don't find answers, but we keep looking, because somewhere beyond that restroom door, in spaces between seconds, 17 people are trapped, and Rachel Sawyer is trying to bring them home. Last week, another person disappeared from the rest area. Young woman, early 20s, entered the restroom at 2:17 a.m. The cameras showed her leaving at 2:24. But when I checked frame by frame, the frames were missing. Reality had adjusted, filled the gap. 18 people now. 18 people living in a rest area that exists outside time. And me, documenting it all, knowing nobody will believe me, knowing the official records will always show everything as normal. But I keep writing, keep photographing, keep trying to find proof that survives the reality adjustments. Because someday, someone's going to figure this out. Someone's going to find a way to close the door, to bring those people home, to stop this from happening. Maybe it'll be me. Maybe it'll be someone who reads these notes after I'm gone. Maybe it'll never happen. But I have to try. Because Rachel Sawyer disappeared 12 years ago, and every night between 2 and 4 a.m. she comes back, trying to save others from her fate. The least I can do is believe her. Even if the cameras say she was never there, even if the reports say nothing happened, even if reality itself insists that everything is normal. I know what I saw, and I know she's real, and I know that somewhere in the spaces between seconds, 17 people are waiting. I'm still trying to figure out how to bring them home.